Hello, my little cupcakes. I have a great story. I'm going to read the words and show you the pictures. The name of this book is called Extra Yarn. Here we go. We're going to use our imagination today, boy. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town where everywhere you looked was either white of snow or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. Annabelle found a box of yarn, every color in it. Yarn is what you make sweaters out of. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars too. And there was some extra yarn. So she knit one sweater for herself and one for her dog Mars. When Annabelle and Mars were for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. So Nate was making fun of Annabelle and saying, "You look ridiculous in your sweater." But it turned out he was jealous. And even after she made a sweater for Nate and his dog, and for herself and for Mars, she still had extra yarn. So she made sweaters for Nate and his dog, and for herself and her dog. She still had extra yarn. At school, Annabelle's classroom could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet," shouted Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everyone. Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," Annabelle said, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." So he said, "You can't knit a sweater for everyone, Annabelle." Let's see what happens. But it turned out she could, and she did, even for Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn in the magical box. So she knit sweaters for everybody, even Mr. Norman. So she knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louise. Oh my goodness, she's working hard to make everyone sweaters. She made sweaters for everyone except Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat, and even then Annabelle still had extra yarn. So Mr. Crabtree was the only one that didn't want a sweater. He didn't mind the cold, but he did take a hat. She made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats, and for other animals too. Some people thought soon Annabelle will run out of yarn, but it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. Wow. She made sweaters for the houses, for the mailboxes, everyone, everything. Things begin to change in that little town. Oh my goodness, it looks much better, doesn't it? More colorful. So she made sweaters for everything and everyone. News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn, and people came to visit her from around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an Archduke who was very fond of clothes sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. So this Archduke came from across the sea and he demanded to see Annabelle. Little girl said to the Archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I'm willing to offer you $1 million. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The Archduke's mustache twitched. "2 million, he said. Annabelle shook her head. "No, thanks." "10 million, shouted the Archduke. "Take it or leave it." "Leave it," said Annabelle. "I won't sell the yarn." And she did it. The Archduke was getting mad, and he kept offering more and more money. And she said, "Nope, I don't want it. Not taking it. Keep your money." So that night, the Archduke hired 3 robbers to break into Annabelle's house and they stole the box. They took it to the Archduke, who set off across the snow and sailed over the sea. Oh my goodness, so they stole the box from Annabelle, and they went back to his house, or his castle. Back to his castle. The Archduke put on his favorite song and sat in his best chair. Then he took out the box and he lifted the lid and he looked inside. So he had his music going, and he sat down and he looked at the box. And what happened? His mustache quivered. It shivered. It trembled. The Archduke hurled the box over the window and shouted, "Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again." Oh my goodness, she knew he was going to do that, and she put an empty box so he could take it. Oh, he was so mad. He wanted to give her a curse. He gave her a curse. Annabelle knew what his plan was. But, look at this. Annabelle put the box on a piece of ice out in the river. It was so cold. It's coming to the shore. Yep, look at this. She was pulling in with a stick. See that? She's sitting right there and she's pulling in the box with a stick. That was clever. Very clever. But it turned out she was happy. Look at her making things for trees even. She's making the whole city colorful. The end. Hope you liked it.